His sneakers is a way to carry his stories.
And listen to this crowd for number 8, Kobe Bryant.
We can talk about some of his stories with these sneakers. It's a part of the story of a legend.
I think between Kobe 1 to 8, I would probably be missing less than 20 pairs. Maybe 3, maybe close to 400 pairs of Kobe's. Ever since I became a dad, a lot of the things that I used to enjoy, I couldn't do anymore. So this is like the one thing that kind of stuck with me. I actually thought about bringing them all out, but it was just so stressing. The very first Kobe shoe I got was the Huarache 2K5 in the All-Star colorway. I have worn this through everything. I mean, I think this might be the only shoe I wore up until the Kobe 1s finally came out in '06. And that was really the first shoe that I actually saw Kobe branding, his number on it, so it was a must-have. Kobe 4s, this was actually an ID I did for my wedding. Actually, it has my wedding date on it. With the Kobe 7s, like I said, it wasn't a popular shoe. This upper is very rigid. This was one of the last Kobe's my wife bought me before she told me to stop buying shoes. It's a Hyperdunk 08. It's kind of funny, there's only 24 pairs of these released to the public. I actually got mine from Kobe's old website. Back then, there was no bots. I mean, I was running CompuServe, so just imagine, I mean, that's like basically AOL dial-up, and I was able to buy one of these. This one was probably the most difficult fade to black pair to find. Paid a grip for it.
This shoe, without it being autographed, goes for $2,000. I bought this a couple years ago for $1,800. So you could do the math now of how much it's worth. The thing that gets me excited with Kobe, and I'm sure a lot of the fans can relate, is like having the shoe that he, had these certain games with. The 81-point game shoes is like a grail of mine.
These are special because these are actually one of the few pairs made for Kobe in 2006 and 2007.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have witnessed the second greatest scoring performance in NBA history.
If there was like one of those buried with you shoe, this would probably be it.
And then the Grinch, this is a fan favorite. Obviously, we got the top shoe right here. I go to Nike Town in Beverly Hills and I buy his shoe at the time, which was the Huarache. This was before he had his own shoe with Nike. I just buy this random colorway that I liked. Before we returned the rental car, we're like, all right, we got to fill up the gas. So we go to a gas station and I look over to my left and I see Kobe pumping gas in his Bentley. So I literally jump out the car, grab the shoes. I don't even say hi. I say, Kobe, can you sign these? I don't even know what to say. Every time I hold this shoe, I get goosebumps. It's probably the most expensive shoe on this wall. This is a Friends and Family Jordan 8 that is in the colorway of the Lakers because Kobe played in this during his free agent days. Jordan Brand gave him a bunch of shoes and they released it in a pack with the 3s a couple years ago, only for Friends and Family. Mickey, can I get a price check? How much these go for now?
Shoot. You can name your price.
Now the shoe can go from anywhere from $20,000 to $30,000, maybe even more if you have the box set. I only have one of the shoes from the box set, but yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we wear them. Doesn't matter how much they're worth, I wear my shoes. Unless they're autographed, then I don't wear them.
Jordan 8s were worn and autographed by him. For some of my collection, there's no way I'll ever put them on feet. Here we are at my Xinjie sneakers in. We have part of my Kobe collection on display right here. These were worn by Kobe in the All-Star game worn pair. I didn't like them on feet, but to have such a special pair worn in the All-Star game on display in my collection, I could never imagine this would happen when I was a little kid. He won 2 rings in 2009 and 2010. These 2 pairs are the exact pairs that were on his feet when he picked up those 2 rings. So these Kobe 4 Pro Tro PEs were made for Isaiah Thomas. He wrote "I Love China, Rip Gigi" to honor his sister who passed away a couple years ago, China Thomas, and Kobe's daughter, Gianna. This colorway is the finals colorway. He wore these against the Magic.
Nike put out a special shoe, the Kobe Bryant Nike Zoom 4 special edition for the finals.
I was like 14 or 15 when I watched the games. I wasn't expecting that years later, I actually came across a game-worn pair. This pair will stay in my collection forever. When China started to broadcast a lot of NBA games, it was Kobe and Shaq's era. And later it was Kobe's prime. This pair of Kobe 8s was worn by him in the NBA Global Games in Shanghai. Kobe celebrated his 30th birthday in Beijing. He was supposed to wear this pair in the finals against Spain, but I heard that they gave him the wrong shoes. On the GOAT stuff, one of them says August 23rd, 1978, and the other one says August 23rd, 2008, which was his 30th birthday. I spent all my weekends, if there's a Laker game, I'll watch that.
Posterizes Dwight Howard.
And then I'll pick up my basketball, run into a basketball court to practice what he did in that specific game.
The NBA was smart enough to start getting these games broadcast worldwide, probably about the time that Kobe came in the league in 96, 97. You had so many people, youngsters, basketball NBA fans that were following him all the way through that became big fans of his as they were winning championships. And he was endearing to them all. Welcome to the Lakers Shrine. This is the largest collection of Laker memorabilia in the world. This started about 35 years ago, and I've bought the collections of many of the greats of the game. Within the collection is the greatest collection of Kobe Bryant memorabilia. This is from 2001, his game-worn jersey with the shorts. Here's the shoes he wore, the band he wore for a few months in memory of the 9/11 victims. Oh, this is the towel he had around him when he did his speech to the crowd, his last game, his last time playing at Staples Center. I really cherish that piece. It weighs about 100 pounds. This is Kobe Bryant's game-worn shoes from the finals. So there's actually services now that go and you can give them the pictures of everything, and they literally dial in the photos down to the creases that are right here, like it's the fingerprint, it's the footprint, so to speak. He knew about the collection and wanted to visit, and unfortunately that never happened. This is the cast that Kobe wore in his rookie season when he debated with the Lakers. He broke his wrist, I think at Venice Beach, dunking on the rim. If he would have visited here, I was going to have him sign this in silver Sharpie, and it's crazy. You know, a lot of the players that have come here over the years, one of the first things they always say is Kobe been here, because they always said he knew the history of the team, going all the way back to even George Mikan and Wilt Chamberlain and all the great players before him. We moved all the jerseys and kind of hung them up here, and we've left him here for like about the last year or so. And you know, his number 8s, his number 24s, these are all game worn. This is the Air Jordan line that he wore for one game. They were wearing the throwback blue uniforms. These are just awesome. You know, both signed Kobe number 8. Just, I love these, kind of one-off styles that they might have worn on only one game or maybe 5 games in a certain season.
One-on-one against Welch. Still going baseline, takes a tough ball away, jump shot, and makes that one. Made it look easy.
I think now the people who are wearing Kobe's as more of a lifestyle shoe are the Kobe fans rather than that everyday sneakerhead.
People don't just wear basketball shoes casually in the fashion world.
By the nature of Kobe's, though, it's like you don't need to have every single one here because they all kind of look similar. Some Kobe 11, just the ones I used for basketball because they're my favorite basketball shoes. And this is a Kobe that's like not a lot of people have, I think. It's the Huarache 2K5, but this is the overtime Kobe colorway, so I don't think all of them have like Kobe symbols and his name on them.
I'm not really the type of person that writes on my shoes, but this one is different. I wrote Mamba Forever.
Like, I love wearing Kobe's every day, and my friends are like, oh, when are you gonna ever wear those? Like, only if you play basketball. And I'm like, no, I could pull them off with some shorts, vintage tees, something like that.
It's hard to say definitively that it won't cross over. No one could have ever predicted that Jordans would transcend into lifestyle the way that it did.
I think Kobe's signature line ranks second to Jordan. Maybe I'm just biased.
I mean, obviously Michael Jordan is big time, but Kobe followed him.
It's lifestyle, it's basketball. Kobe's only kind of checks that one side of it, which is like the basketball side of it.
And LeBron's, KD's, AI's, D-Rose, I think they're all great, but personally, I would rank Kobe's ahead of everybody else.
Jordan obviously was starting in the 80s to the 90s. They didn't have the tech that they had in the 2000s.
He always put performance first, and it really started to show for me in like the 3 and then the 4.
Well, why is Kobe Bryant doing so well? Maybe it's the shoes.
The 4 was the first year that they went low.
People thought Kobe was crazy.
That was really like intimidating for me because I have existing ankle problems, and I thought it was weird that someone with ankle problems would switch to a low.
Kobe said he wanted to make his basketball shoe like a soccer shoe. He loved the sport of soccer, and he wanted a shoe that had more like flexibility. He could move around like a soccer player. So that's why they went with the low top on the 4s, and probably the best basketball shoe of all time.
These days, it's, with the Grinches and everything, it's more of a casual for everybody type of deal. But up until 2 years ago, if you had a Kobe in your collection, it's you hoop.
Iron tipped up, tipped in! Kobe Bryant tied the game!
This is like one of my favorite Kobes to play with just because it's one of the more comfortable ones, and this is a model that they released after he tore his Achilles. The inside, you can actually remove it, and it's like the lunar loin tech, so it's super, super bouncy, and it just molds to your foot.
The high tops, as he was wearing different styles and all that through the years.
When the picture leaked, we were like, those are like boxing shoes. We never seen basketball shoes like that.
Kobe has the best performance line of all time.
Just hit for hit, shoe for shoe. Their technology and the innovation in it is just light years ahead of where the Jordan line was.
The league is basically wearing Kobe's.
After Kobe's death, a lot of his items, cars, shoes, jerseys, whatever, their price just skyrocketed. The question I asked most was, can you sell me one of his autographed items? Basically because he was not around to sign autographs anymore, but I never considered signing any of these.
It went from collection that really I just like, or some friends too, to all of a sudden, a lot of people like them.
Weeks before, I was planning to buy a pair of Kobe 4s, the Undefeated Suns colorway, because he had bought it, and they were sitting for below retail. And I was like, I think they're gonna go down. When I remembered to check, the prices had skyrocketed. They were quadruple the price, and I panic purchased them.
There's certain people who just, they don't care, and they wanted to take advantage of the situation and mark up the prices.
It's impossible just to get a regular colorway at a Foot Locker when it drops.
I have 6 people trying for me every release. It's just constant L's after L's, and then you have to pay resale, and then it has to be oh, okay, well, I kind of have to wait and save a little bit more to hit that resale price.
I have a huge issue with the ethics of certain things hitting secondary markets. There is a responsibility in my opinion, for the community to decide hey, this isn't cool, let's not do this. And then there's a responsibility from brands to decide, allocation or distribution of product.
When Nike and the Kobe partnership ended, it was a blow.
How could you let Kobe go?
It's a company's prerogative they don't want to deal with. It's the Bryant's estate, prerogative if, their terms are not being met. The news came out when there was still a couple more pairs about to come out. And the first thought was well, I guess I'm going to pay, crazy again.
The Grinches, for example, were not limited because he passed and they were trying to create an additional hype value to it. It was probably allocated that way prior to his death, and because it came out the same year. And those were also similarly limited when they first came out 10 years ago.
Kobe Bryant wearing his brand new color.
And I'm one of those people that complain, but then I realized they're not doing anything different that they were doing. It's just that the demand has become way more. So you can't really be mad at them for that.
In today's world, hype is currency. Well, I hope it continues at some point. Unless you're talking about super, super young Froby, Kobe is Nike.
This is when Kobe was a sneaker free agent, and he was, getting a bunch of shoes from different brands. They were trying to get him to sign with their company, so Reebok made him a pair of Iversons. This is something that I hope I see more of now that Kobe's not with Nike anymore, is we could see some Kobe's from his Adidas days, Reebok, I think there was a few other brands he wore too. So if they did a Kobe Nike reunion, I would love to see them actually pro-tro the Kobe 2s and the 3s, because they skipped those ones because those weren't really the popular Kobes. They went to the 4s and the 5s and the 6s. So I would love them to actually bring back those shoes and pro-tro them to add the new technology on an older shoe like that.
That says Bryant's on, one of the greatest players ever to play the game.
Obviously, we hope someday this can be all on display for all fans worldwide to see, because there's Laker fans and Kobe Bryant fans worldwide.
Kobe, hard to believe. Are you kidding me? Unreal! Are you kidding me?
Sneakers are something that brought me a lot of happiness. There's an old Chinese saying, I don't know how I'm supposed to translate that properly, but basically it means that being happy yourself is not as good as making everyone happy. I'm happy. I love these. If I can share that with a lot of people, I can still make everyone else happy. It's like, why we need to have a pair of Kobe's? Why not?